One of the first lessons is just the consistency. We sometimes get really bogged down in having an episode be perfect.
We grew very organically and very naturally, and I think that's been a really cool experience. You know, maybe Marnie and Stephanie look amazing on camera, but like in reality, our lives are not perfect.
Finally dropping our first episode of our podcast today after months of preparation.
In today's episode, Marnie and I will each share our background, our own personal wellness journeys, what brought us here today, and why we are so passionate about spreading our messages. And it goes along with something we say all the time, which is just stepping outside your comfort zone. And that could be physically, it could be mentally, it could be emotionally, but that's where the growth happens, that moment you step outside your comfort zone.
Our guests have inspired and challenged us more than I would have ever imagined.
The other thing that I will say is a big lesson that your dad, if he's listening, Gary, out there, has shared through you, right, to us is...
Welcome to the Art of Living Well podcast, where we empower you to take charge of your health and happiness. We're Marnie
and Stephanie,
board-certified integrative health practitioners, holistic wellness coaches, and passionate explorers of all things mind, body, and soul.
Each week, we bring you expert insights, real-life stories, and practical tools to help you bridge the gap between where you are now and where you truly want to be. From longevity and nutrition to mindset, movement, and healing, we dive deep to uncover the root causes of wellness and vitality.
Join us and our growing community as we explore what it really means to create your art of living well in a way that's authentic, sustainable, and uniquely yours. Happy 6-year anniversary. I'm so excited. Here we are today going into our 7th year of podcasting, which is so crazy because I remember when we started this and I thought to myself, oh, I'm only going to do this for 5 years, or at least I'm going to reassess at 5 years. That seems so far out in the future. And here we are. And we've been dropping episodes essentially weekly since then. So I'm just so proud of us and excited.
I know. And it has flown by to the point that when I meet someone new and they ask what I do, and I tell them that I'm a holistic health coach and a podcaster, and they're like, wow, how long have you been doing that? And I have to pause and think about it. And Marnie, you and I literally had a count today. We're like, have we finished 5 years? Are we on to our 6th? Are we going on to our 7th? I mean, time just flies. And I think that's just a testament to how much we love doing this show and how much we have both learned and grown, and the amazing and super interesting and unique individuals that we've gotten the opportunity to meet and the experiences that we've had from meeting them. And we'll dive in and talk a little bit more about that. So it's been life-changing.
Life-changing, like in a way that I never imagined. Like I thought it was going to help me become a better speaker. In my mind, I was like, okay, I can learn how to articulate myself better. And Stephanie and I are both health coaches, and we can just reach so many more people in terms of health and wellness. And that was exciting to us. And I think about our first episode. I remember I was so nervous. And I remember we each had our own scripts that we spent like a long time writing, and we read them word for word. And I was like sweating buckets. I remember my armpits were like drenched and I was red in the face. And like, I can't believe how much we've grown.
I know. It makes me want to go back and listen to that first episode.
That's a good idea.
Probably would be mortified, but it would be actually super fun. But it would also just be like a good time to reflect on the growth that we both had, because I think equally, neither one of us like loved public speaking. It's always been sort of the bane of, I don't know, I've always had a thing about getting really nervous about public speaking, like you said, and sweating and all that. And now it's like, just give us a mic and we can't shut up now. So I don't know. It's just fun to see the growth. I mean, yeah, I am going to go back and listen to some of those early episodes.
Well, and maybe we can do a little blurb on here, like a little soundbite of what we sounded like in that first episode. That would be very funny.
Totally.
And we've learned and grown and challenged ourselves, and hopefully challenged you guys in so many ways over these past 6 years. And I just think Stephanie and I want to touch on a little bit on some of the things that we have learned in the course of doing podcasting and just being part of this health and wellness community and being engaged with you guys, our listeners, and how much your input and feedback makes a difference to our lives.
Absolutely. And I think one of the first sort of lessons is just the consistency. We sometimes get really bogged down in having an episode be perfect, whatever that even means. And then as you start to listen to other podcasts, you realize everyone kind of makes mistakes. And sometimes some of them sound better than others, but that's okay. And so, especially early on, we wanted to make sure we were dropping episodes on a regular basis. And I really do think that helps. And it's just good practice for us. So, getting rid of that notion that everything has to be perfect. And if you make a mistake or there's a typo in a show note, who's really paying attention, right? Except for us, maybe.
Maybe a few other people. Who knows?
Maybe a few other people, but yeah.
But in the course of things, in the big scheme of things, everyone would say to us things like, dropping an episode weekly is so important. And it's those podcasters that drop episodes here and there that are really, not consistent. And so I think that has been in our minds this whole time. And we've done a really good job with that. And I think that has, helped us become a top 1% in the world podcast.
Yay.
Because we have been so consistent with dropping our episodes. And I also think because we have been so focused on organic growth and not as much on, worrying about marketing, and now we're worrying about all this stuff. But back then we weren't. We grew very organically and very naturally. And I think that's been a really cool experience.
Yeah. And part of it is just a lot of our guests were word of mouth, and then they were local. Then all of a sudden people were reaching out to us, and we have had backlogs. We've had times where we've had 3 months of guest interviews recorded.
5 months.
Yeah.
We've had 5 months.
And I think one of the learnings was what maybe, in hindsight, reflecting back, is that we should have been on air more, just doing these solo episodes. And we had so many guests and people coming to us that we felt like we had to say yes to most of them if they were within our, overall mission. And going back, and then we're doing this now the last year or two, you probably have heard Marnie and I coming on a lot more and talking about the various things that we're experts in as health coaches. So that's been a learning for sure.
And also just like sharing more of ourselves instead of, we're naturally wanting to educate and teach and coach, but we've started, this Substack. And I think it's really nice because we're both sharing things that are going on in our personal lives or things we're thinking about. And we really want to connect with you guys, our audience. And I think even moving forward, you're going to see us doing that more and more because it's so important in today's world and everything's so digital. And like we need that human connection. We need to know that, maybe Marnie and Stephanie look amazing on camera, but like in reality, our lives are not perfect. And we want to share, this imperfection with you because everybody's human and everybody's going through shit at various times, including us.
Yes, absolutely. The other thing that I will say is a big lesson that, your dad, if he's listening, Gary, out there, has shared through you, right, to us is if you don't ask, you don't get whatever it is you want. And there have been several times where I'm like, oh, I don't know. Should we ask? It seems too, I don't know, aggressive maybe is the word, right? To ask. And this could be asking someone to come on the show. It could be asking for a podcast sponsor, whatever. And you always come back with that. Like, what do we have to lose? What do we have to lose? The worst they can say is no. And this translates, I think, into all areas of life. And it's something that I will tell my kids too, why not ask someone to go do something. You don't know if they say no, well, that is what it is, or it's their loss or whatever. So that I think it's been a really big learning.
And I hear that voice in my head saying that to me all the time. And it's true. Like we have one life. Like if you're not going to take your shot at whatever it is you're going for, then what's the point, right?
Well, and it goes along with something we say all the time, which is just stepping outside your comfort zone. And that could be physically, it could be mentally, it could be emotionally, but that's where the growth happens that moment you step outside your comfort zone. And this is just a very easy example, ask, invite someone over. I mean, this applies to, I think, everyone in all areas of your life, really. So thanks, Gary.
So another thing I was thinking about as you were saying that, and I love that my dad inspired you in that way, as he inspires me also, but our guests have inspired and challenged us more than I would have ever imagined. Like, I think that is one of my very favorite parts of being a podcaster or being a journalist or being in this space is that we get to meet so many cool people and interesting people and people that make me think in a way that I maybe wasn't before. And I love that. And it keeps life interesting and challenging. And hopefully we're bringing that to you guys, our audience, because it's kind of amazing. Like before we recorded this, Stephanie and I were kind of going through our guests and talking about, wow, who had a big impact on us? And we're like, we were going on and on and on. And we're like, we just have to pick a few, right?
And that's something that I don't think I fully appreciated or expected going into this. So I wasn't expecting that for so many guests. I was, some of them are products. And so, yeah, you try the products and maybe I still use them. We'll talk about some of those. Some of them were healers and different therapists or different service providers. And I've used a lot of their services, whether it was in person or via Zoom or gone to yoga classes or, so that awakening, but also it's just what people have said and books that they have written. And sometimes it takes many times to hear that same message. But for some reason on this podcast, when some of our guests speak, it like this light bulb goes off, or maybe it's just because the student is ready and the teacher appears, and it really profound impact to the point that I'm like talking to my kids about it or, trying to implement different habits into our lives. So as much as we started this podcast is a way to share some of our learnings and, experiences of our guests with all of you, we've gotten just as much out of this, like speaking personally, as I think we've been giving, hopefully, that you guys have also experienced on your journey to live well.
It's crazy how the number on the bathroom scale can ruin your day. I made an exciting discovery that changes all that. I stopped focusing on weight and put my energy into reshaping and rediscovering my body's true potential. Creatone by Brickhouse Nutrition was created by doctors specifically for women. Creatone helps me look more toned, defined, and sculpted without increasing diet and exercise. Yes, without increasing diet and exercise. Creatone is radically different from guys' creatine. It's designed for women with pure creatine and patented ingredients that reshape your body so you look leaner, trimmer, and more toned. No water retention, no weight gain, and no bulking up. And it boosts metabolism to help you burn fat. That's a plus. Break up with your bathroom scale and watch how fast Creatone can help you look leaner, toned, and sculpted. Let's get you started today with 20% off your first order. Visit tonetoday.com and use my code LIVINGWELL for your discount. Again, use my code LIVINGWELL to save 20% at tonetoday.com. For sure. And I think about, the guests specifically and how they have, come on to share their story or whatever, and how sometimes I think there's like an alignment happening where we're choosing someone to come on our show because something, in an email we got or whatever resonated with us where we are at this moment in time. And then it kind of spirals from there. Whereas you mentioned, we started with some local people and then we kind of got bigger and bigger and broader. And it just kind of brought us into the next dimension of podcasting, if you want to call it that. And I was thinking about some specific guests, and like the number one person that comes to mind for me that has been so life-changing, and I think Stephanie will agree, is Mark Hodlick. And like, who's that? You've probably never heard of him, right? It's episode 172. He is one of the co-founders of 29029, and he's the CEO, and I can't even remember how we got to him in all honesty, or how he got to us, but
it was through a connection, which gets to like ask,
But I remember, Stephanie, you telling me, oh, go look at this website. And I was looking at it and I was like, yeah, this is really like out of my box. And it sounded interesting, but like, that's about it. It sounded interesting. And then when he came on our show, I was blown away. And I couldn't get past it. I was like, I have to do this. Stephanie, I think, felt the same. Then we actually do the event. We participate in the community, and it keeps going. Like, I still have that feeling. It's launched me into endurance sports and the Grand Canyon and a deeper love for hiking and all these things and learnings about the physical body and the mental body that, like, I don't know. I just feel like it has spiraled in so many ways and given us so many amazing people. So thank you, Mark.
Yeah, thank you. And if you think about the number of guests that we've had that have spun off from Mark, because we
Right.
had Emily and Chris. We just interviewed Chris Huff again. His episode's dropping next week, or it'll already have dropped by the time this comes out. And then Colleen, who's the voice of the mountain, and then Brent and his brother Kyle. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And people that we met on the mountain that
And our
we've had.
friend Nancy, who hiked the Grand Canyon
Yes.
with us, like, we've just met so many people through this, and he really knows how to build community, and I admire that so much and look up to that so much, and we hope that we're doing that with you guys on some level.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would agree with you as far as number one life-changing guest that we've had on the show. I mean, a couple others, we had Dr. Stephen Cabral on now twice, and he is someone that we studied under, and we'll link up these episodes in the show notes for you guys. But he's just very inspirational and just he's one of our teachers. So of course we have a high level of respect for him.
And I know we talk about him a lot, right? But, like, at the end of the day, when I go back and listen to something he's done, or, we both took his longevity course, high performance health, and, like, what he says resonates so much with me. And it's so much of what we try and share with you because I just respect him so much.
Yeah. Who else? Carolina Oliveira, who is one of the founders of One Skin. And we had her back on episode 88. So years ago when they just had one product, and now they have, I think, close to 10 at this point. She's been on twice, and it's really about this anti-aging longevity at a cellular level. So it's not just putting a product on our face. There's so much science, and they've done a lot of studies and research as to what's happening on a cellular level that does impact your skin, which is your largest organ. And I've been a big fan and user of those products ever since. So that for me is, pretty life-changing.
And I think what was so cool about her is at the heart of it, she's a scientist. And she really talks about the science behind her products and has studies to show she's not just about, okay, put this on your skin and it's, good for you and there's anti-aging qualities. But she really backs up and is very knowledgeable about what she's talking about, which is something that we love to have and see in a guest.
And there's a theme here because now I have another guest who's been on twice. And this one we actually met at Cabral's conference. So this is where there's so much intertwine in this community. But Rudy Nasif, who founded Viva Rays, and those are the light, and they're not just blue blocking, they're light harmonizing glasses. But it was even beyond the product, which I do use every day, it's a total appreciation for the benefits of natural sunlight exposure and the harm of getting too much of the indoor fluorescent artificial light and what that does, not only physically, but at an emotional and, mental level. It's really powerful. And that's why we talk about getting outside for a walk in the morning and getting outside for a walk in the evening when you can. So thank you, Rudy.
And yeah, he really opened my eyes to how big of an impact light, all different kinds of light, can have on our lives, both physically and emotionally. And we had him on twice, like Stephanie mentioned, and he has so much passion and is just like, you just want to live his lifestyle. I mean, he lives on the beach and he's surfing and he's working. And I mean, I'm like, wow, like, how do you get to live like that? Which seems very unrealistic for my life. But yeah, he was super inspiring. Recommend listening to those episodes. And I just again love how we can be so inspired by our guests. Like, I don't know what life would be like if I didn't get to meet a cool guest every month or every few months.
literally the number of people that are now, I would say, in our lives, so to speak, because of this show is astounding, honestly, because most people haven't heard of a lot of these guests, right?
Yep. And we would love to know from you, like, who are some of your favorite guests? Who do you love to hear from? What did you learn from something on our show, or what inspired you to try something new? I know we could go on and on about all these guests that we love.
And just different topics, whether it's regenerative farming, right? Or impact of protein and amino acids, or just sauna and cold plunge. I mean, like so many different lifestyle habits that we have picked up on.
And I will say, we were talking about sauna and cold plunge before it was cool.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we were
Totally.
talking about it so early in the podcast. And now it's like so mainstream. And I hear all these random people that I know that are like, oh, I'm going to sauna and cold plunge at the gym. And I'm like, that's so amazing. I'm so happy
Yes.
that it's gone so mainstream for people.
I mean, I do think we've talked about, there are quite a few topics and products that I think sometimes when you're in this space, when you're in the health and wellness space, you just assume that everyone is kind of hearing about these things. Maybe they're not doing them, but at least they know of them. And then you step just like a couple inches outside and you realize, no, this is not mainstream, actually. And our goal is to take some of these products, and that's why we bring these guests on, to help make them more mainstream, to introduce them to you guys, to make them more accessible through, just maybe different discounts or just an awareness and vetting. Because Marnie and I are very mindful of the products that we talk about. We don't just let anyone come on the show. We don't just advertise any products. We want to make sure that they are high quality. So that's part of what we do. And we love being able to share those with you so that you don't have to do the hard work. Are you loving this conversation and want even more ways to live your happiest, healthiest, and most authentic life? Then we'd love for you to join our growing community on Substack. When you subscribe, you'll get bonus content and behind-the-scenes insights from us. Plus, you'll be the first to know about our upcoming programs and events. Your support helps us keep bringing inspiring guests and impactful conversations straight to you each week. So head to the link in our show notes, sign up today, and let's continue this journey together to create the art of living well.
I was just thinking back to our early days when we recorded an episode, but we realized it never got recorded.
Gosh.
And I remember we were sitting at Modern Well, right?
Yep, we were in the little conference room.
We were in the conference room and we did this entire episode and it was really good. And we don't know this person, right? Like,
I knew her because I'd done a retreat with her, but
yeah. And so, I mean, talk about like just horrified, panicking. And she was so gracious about it. She re-recorded the whole thing with us again.
Like right after. And you're always worried, like, is it going to be as good as the first time?
Yeah.
And I think it was actually, so it was okay.
But like, that was a very stressful moment early on in podcasting. And I remember something like that happened a different time, but we were able to get it. It was with one of the cancer doctors, right? And we couldn't get his episode. It was much later.
That was kind of recently, actually.
Yeah. And something happened with our system and somehow the file, like,
it didn't finish like uploading.
Yeah. And we were able to make it work and get it. But again, so stressful. And this was a doctor who wouldn't have been the easiest person to like re-record this episode with. So like, we have had our share of bloopers, right, over the years.
For sure.
And experiences where like, okay, we want to do this in person, but we don't know exactly what we're doing, but we know we want to do it in person. So we're going to figure it out.
Because some of my favorite episodes have been in person, or just ones that we were able to make it a little bit different. I remember being at Wild Rice Retreat with Heidi, and after a yoga class with her, we recorded an episode.
And we were in the old Jewelweed store. And I remember it was so fun to like record on site and see her store. But then the sound was terrible, right? Like we had no idea what we were doing at the time. That was pretty early on. And
I feel like we could hear like the people at Caribou Coffee next door.
Yes, you could hear everything in the background, and she was hard to hear. And we've learned a lot since then.
We have. Which is the whole point, What else? So some of it, maybe we can just highlight some of our top like favorite podcasts from you guys. based on, just number of downloads and engagement and commentary. And I think in one of my favorite episodes, although I was really nervous for this episode because it was with Dr. Zach Bush. So even though this was a few years after the podcast started, I mean, he is just such a brilliant and well-spoken and very passionate and powerful, but he gets very deep very quickly. And I was quite nervous for that episode. But Dr. Zach Bush,
and he was so gracious and humble and kind. Like, as famous as he is, you wouldn't have known it on our episode. Like, he was a wonderful guest.
Although I will say he's one that we should have hit record a little sooner,
yes,
and let it keep going after.
We're
I will
learning.
say that.
We're learning.
Yeah, we're learning. And I ended up taking his Journey of Intrinsic Health program for health coaches because of the episode and the conversation we had at the end of that. So anyway, that was episode 163. Highly, highly recommend going back and listening to that if you haven't.
And then Karen Hurd, which is not doesn't have a mainstream name. And we had her on really early. I think it was episode 39. And then again on episode 65. And still, they're like some of our highest downloaded episodes. And, she talks about healing through food, essentially. And some of her ideas, I know she talks a lot about beans, are very, they're not mainstream. I'll say that. But she has some really powerful stories and really strong beliefs. And I think they're really solid episodes.
And she's healing a lot of people. She is helping a lot of people's systems be able to heal themselves, is what I should say. And you can go on to her website. She has courses. If you're a mother out there and you have a child that you're dealing with or yourself with different, conditions and you're not finding the answers, check out Karen Hurd.
Yeah. And if you do want to learn more about saunas, Good Health Saunas was a sponsor of ours a few times. I have a Good Health sauna, love the sauna, wish I got a bigger one. I very much regret that. But I think episode 179 is such a good intro into sauna in general. And I love the way Eric talks about, how sauna came into his life as a firefighter. It's a community that I didn't give a lot of thought to, in all honesty. And it makes sense when you think about all the toxins you're exposed to in that field. So highly recommend that episode.
And then I think one of the other fun, unexpected benefits of this podcast has been the community that we built. And for those of you that are local in the Twin Cities, we've gotten to grow with you and experience some fun events. And we want to keep doing that. That's another goal of ours as we head into year 7. But the hiking that we've done, even just in the last year at Highlands with our group, has been great. And this was something I feel like if we hadn't done 29029, it would still be a mystery to me. And it's 13 minutes from my house.
And there's a whole world there that I never knew existed, like literally.
Yes. So that was fun, and going to sauna camp and doing the sauna sessions and the cold plunge as part of our Vitality reboot. Those have been really fun events, and it's just nice to connect in person. As great as doing all this remotely is, there is something to be said about building community and meeting face to face.
I will say one of my favorite events that we ever did was on Lake Minnetonka. Stephanie had a property out there that she was renting, and we did a yoga class. And then we did cold plunge after the class and there was sauna too, actually.
Sauna. We had a huge barrel sauna.
And we had a very big turnout, and we did the yoga, and then you did the sauna and the cold plunge. It was so much fun. People loved event.
It.
I think that was one of my very favorite events that we have done.
I think so too. And I think in addition to the scenery and the sauna and everything, what was really cool to see was we had some, I don't want to say randoms. We had people that we did not know that showed up for the event.
Yes.
And it was really somehow, I don't know how we promoted it.
That we didn't know, actually.
Yes.
There was like a number of people.
At least, I would say like half we didn't know, which was like a good amount to not, And that was really cool. And even like, I feel like we've stayed in touch with a couple of them through Instagram, which is fun.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And so, looking ahead, like what's next for us. We have, we don't know how long we're going to be doing this. Hopefully we'll get to our 10-year anniversary, but we'll see what happens, right? So, what themes are we going to talk about? What kinds of things are we going to do moving forward? And we would love to hear from you guys. What do you want to see in real life? Do you want us to do a retreat? Do you want us to do more hiking things? Like, we're very open to building our community in person. It doesn't just have to be in Minneapolis. And then we have all these dream guests. So if anyone that's listening can help us, I mean, Sarah Blakely and Jesse Itzler, we want you to come on our show so badly.
And we did meet Jesse last year.
Fly to Atlanta.
Absolutely. Fly to Atlanta.
You on our show.
Yeah. Yes. So those two guests would be amazing. Of course, we've been talking a lot about Mel Robbins and Let Them. And Mel, we know you're busy doing your tour coming up here, but maybe in the not too distant future, we can have a chance to meet.
And then there's Dr. Mindy Pels, who we've been in contact with. Hopefully she's going to come on our show soon. We're working really hard to get her on our show. There's Dr. Chatterjee, who we have been reaching out to since year one. He's so much bigger now today than he was when we found him. And, he's abroad. It's a little harder to get him on. But again, Dr. Chatterjee, we really want you on our show.
And we're going to manifest this.
Yes,
Marnie and I are big in doing, whether it's vision board or some sort of intention setting. Doesn't have to just be for the new year. But there have been some of our guests I have literally put on the vision board, and we have had those guests on. So I think we just need to work on,
And we're dreaming big, because why not, right? Like, I hope that, you just brought up a really good point, Stephanie, when you said manifesting and vision boarding. I will say, before this podcast, I did not do a lot of manifestation. And we had a guest on pretty early. I cannot remember his name, I'm sorry to say. But he had a book that we read. And then we've had a number of guests on since then that talk about manifestation. But that has been something that has changed my life more than anything else. And I find that when I really focus on manifesting on what I want, a lot of it does work out. And I don't know if it's because I'm then like slowly moving the needle towards what I want, or if it's just that I can't explain it.
Well, I think this is another theme that's come out of this podcast that I was not even thinking about before, is energy. And I think part of it is like the energy that you put out is what you get back.
Yep.
And your thoughts kind of become your reality. And so a lot of this is energetics.
Yeah.
And so if you want something and you not just think it, but then you share it with others and you talk about it and you have this excitement in whatever it is you're talking about, whether it's a guest or, then it happens. And I think I also learned this too by doing 29029 and just like envisioning getting that red hat and walking across the finish line.
Which I actually have here because I was just thinking about how much this changed our lives. And I pulled out my red hat because I don't wear it very often. And I was like, well, for those of you on YouTube, which I never in a million years would have thought that we would have been on YouTube. Like, that's another thing. When we started this podcast, it was like, there is no way I'm going to be comfortable being on camera, like, ever. And here we are. Do you remember how nervous we were to be on YouTube? Like, we were like, how is that going to work?
But I mean, everyone's on YouTube now, right? So,
but they're not.
I figure
everybody is not on YouTube.
I meant there's a wide variety of people, and they don't always look very polished on YouTube. So,
but it's not even about being polished. It's just about, like, if you Google your name, Stephanie, you have like this whole video footprint out there, right? Like, it's just,
maybe I should do that. I guess I haven't done that.
I just would have never expected that for my life.
Yes.
I guess.
Yeah.
So
no,
life
I agree.
Takes twists and turns, and it's fun.
Well, I mean, thank you, Marnie, for initiating this podcast, because you're the one that brought it up to me and said, hey, do you want to start a podcast, after we had been doing some coaching events and workshops at Modern Well. So, and I guess maybe you had your dad's voice in your head at that time saying, well, if I don't ask her, I'll never know.
Well, and thank you for saying yes. I mean, we really barely knew each other at the time. Like, I remember, I'm just thinking back to another funny story when we needed to get a cover photo for our podcast. And so we did it. My parents live on a lake and we did it out at the lake. And I don't even remember who took the photos, to be honest with you, but I remember we had to stand really close to each other, which is fine. But like we barely knew each other at the time.
Right.
And it was like almost like we were taking engagement photos.
Engagement pictures. That's
right.
what I was like.
And it was like a little bit awkward. And I think your son was there. I think Owen was there. Like
I think
playing with
2
the
of my kids
dog.
were there. Yep.
Okay, maybe.
Yes.
And I just remember like just thinking back to that and now thinking about like we've been through a lot together.
Yeah.
In these hikes and whatever. And it's been really fun. So thank you
been
for
very
your
fun.
friendship and being a co-host and a great business partner. And I think, we have our moments, obviously, as everybody does, but I think we handle them very well.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's been so fun. I can't even imagine. I mean, it's been 6 years and I can't imagine not doing this right now. So thank you guys. Thank you to our listeners for being loyal and just keep reaching out to us. Keep sharing what excites you about the show, what topics or guests that you want us to bring on, whether if it's Marnie and I talking about certain topics or bringing an expert on in the field. We'd love to hear from you. And we have a fun giveaway.
Go for it.
Well, we're going to give away one of our hats, which now I don't have a hat in front of me, but you've seen them. I wear mine all the time.
So do I. And we have them in white and navy, the Art of Living Well podcast hats. And do you have Lindsay's book handy or no?
I do. And we're going to give a copy. So one of our recent guests, Lindsay Dahl, who came on twice, we have one of her books to give you. It is excellent. It is one, you'll learn a lot about the different chemicals in our environment and a lot of policy work that she's done, but it's a lot of storytelling, which just makes the book go, read very well. And then a lot of practical advice in how to simplify this very daunting, which can be a very overwhelming process to try to clean house. And she's just very practical with how she shares her insights and her suggestions. And it's not about perfectionism, kind of like how we talked earlier. It's just, let's just do one small thing at a time. So we're going to give a copy of the book away as well. And then we're also giving a copy of your memoir away.
Yes, which I have right here, My Song Unleashed, which actually I haven't talked about in a really long time. Sometimes I forget that I wrote it, which is kind of sad. But I'd love to share a copy of this. This is a snapshot in time of my life and kind of coming into my own voice and self and confidence. And so we'll sign that. And if you guys would write us a review on Apple Podcasts and screenshot it and get it to us, that will put you in the pool for the giveaway.
Yes. And don't forget to join our Substack. We talked about that earlier in the podcast, but we want to make sure that you're heading over there because not only will you find out when episodes drop and when we have programs, but like Marnie said, we're really intentionally going on there and just sharing what's going on in our life, any insights that you may be interested in hearing, but just things that, I think when people share snippets from their lives, very often it can resonate or help others maybe on a similar path or a similar point in their journey.
And thank you for being part of our community. We appreciate you and we're grateful for you. Wish you a great day.
All right. Bye-bye.
What does the art of living well mean to you?
Oh man, the art of living well to me means living your life exactly how you want to live it. Doing those things every single day that you want to do is so much more important than doing the things that you think you should be doing.
The art of living well, to me, it's finding joy. Joy is when you feel it in like the very bottom of your belly and it just fills your soul up. You carry it with you where happiness comes and goes. There's nothing better.
The art of living is like being able to embrace the good, the bad, and learn from it. But I want that growth on the other side and it makes me better. My life has expanded.
The art of well-being to me is not shooting on yourself as it relates to well-being, right? It's about listening to what your body and your intuition and your spirit says to do, rather than listening to tell you what you should do. It's about trusting yourself enough to know that you have the tools and you have the healing within you.
And so the art of living is staying curious long enough to create the new world you want to live in.
Thank you for tuning in to the Art of Living Well podcast. If today's episode inspired you, please subscribe, share, and leave us a review. It helps more people discover our show.
And if you're ready to take your health and happiness to the next level, we would love to support you. Whether it's through our transformative group programs, personalized coaching, or functional medicine lab testing, we help uncover the root causes of your health challenges and unlock your vitality.
Visit www.theartoflivingwell.us to learn more and book a free discovery call. Until next time, keep creating your art of living well.